Welcome back to ASBR Boxing's YouTube channel. I'm delighted to be joined by Lawrence Gill. We've just watched both Lawrence Okolie and Chris Billam-Smith weigh in ahead of their WBO World Cruiserweight title fight on the South Coast in Bournemouth on Saturday night. One of three world title fights, of course, in the UK. Up in the Cruiserweight division, both men know each other really well. Obviously, former teammates, both under the tutelage of Shane McGuigan. Lawrence Okolie has since went to Sugarhill Stewart, and yeah, the fight's on. Former teammates become foes, frenemies, I suppose everyone was calling it. Lawrence, thanks for joining me, mate. First of all, what did you kind of make of the weigh-in?
Yeah, I'm quite thrown by it in a way because they both came in a pound under, which kind of threw me. And I thought Billam-Smith, I thought looked really good at the weight. Okolie looked a bit drained, but then he always looks drained. That's the thing. It's like I always get that with fighters when they're like, "Oh, they look drained on the scale." But if they do that and they keep winning, I'm always like, "Well, if it works, it works." And if he came in a pound under as well, you're like, he clearly wasn't, like fighting to make weight this morning, or presumably, because then he wouldn't have done an extra pound for no reason. So I'd say that's probably advantage Okolie from that way, in my opinion, because I thought the weight was a question for him, where it wasn't for Billam-Smith. And like, yeah, Billam-Smith looked good at the weight as he always does, but the fact Okolie came in a pound under and didn't look, like a skeleton, to me, I think that's a win for Lawrence Okolie personally. I that's made me more confident that he's going to win it, which I was leaning towards already. But that's how I made of it. If Okolie's made weight, if he'd said to me before, Okolie weighs in 199 pounds, I'd say, well, that he's done well then, hasn't he? Because he clearly has weighed in well. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. I have to agree with you. I think I'm not surprised by Billam Smith coming in at 199 pounds, obviously 14 stone three. But looking at a Coley, I understand what you mean in the sense that I think people might be more confident now that Okolie's going to win because there have always been question marks about Okolie on the scales, which is a bit odd. I suppose he's never really. I can't recall him ever missing weight, so he's very professional and diligent in that way. But he is 6'5", so everyone's like, how is he making 14 stone four? The next question I kind of wanted to ask you, Lawrence, kind of leads into what you said there about it didn't look too drawn in Okolie and he didn't look like he struggled. Do you think it's because he had that fight against David Light just 2 months ago that he didn't have to almost do like a weight loss camp before? Or not that he probably gains too much weight, but the fact that he literally went from one fight camp, have a fight, maybe 2 or 3 days off, into straight into another fight camp. Do you think that's helped his weight?
Yeah, I think it did, and it's got to have done because he just won't have had that time to blow up. I mean, it's been 2 months, but then you think when the fight was announced, it was like weeks or something. So he's got down to weight. He's not going to put much on. I was at his weigh in February 2021 against that Polish guy whose name I can't remember now off the top of my head. But
Michael Cieslak?
yeah, and he looked a lot worse then than what I've just seen on this live stream. Obviously, that was in person, but he looked more drawn in then. I think the question about the weight is just that he's big, and he does just he does have to cut. Is it you can tell he's water drained when he's on the scales. But yeah, I think that he looked really good, and I think that fight 2 months ago is going to have been huge. It just has to have been, doesn't it? I don't see how it can't have. I don't see how that can't have helped him make that weight. So now it's like that after that weigh-in. The only question is just the Bournemouth fans. I guess you heard a bit of that atmosphere at the weigh-in, and you think, well, it's going to be at the stadium. That's the only thing that kind of maybe goes against Okolie now. He's weighed in well, but we already knew that crowd was going to be against him, but you've just seen it again at the weigh-in, so it gets down to that factor. But apart from the kind of crowd atmosphere and the magic, I I can't see now how Billam-Smith wins personally because I just think Okolie's better, and if he's made weight well, that's just the reasons why Billam-Smith could win for me are just getting smaller and smaller. So I think it's now advantage Okolie from that way personally.
Yeah, nice one. I mean, not really much more we can talk about when it comes to talking about a weigh-in. But just finally, Lawrence, kind of wrap up. You've kind of made it clear there that you think Okolie is going to win this fight. How do you see that happening? If Okolie wins, is it by stoppage? If it's on points?
I think points. I'm pretty confident, to be honest, in points. I'm surprised a stoppage is much better odds at the bookies when that the crowd behind Billam-Smith I think could carry him through the 12 rounds a little bit. He's a tough fight. He's a gritty fighter. Okolie isn't going to want to take risks. I think he'll happily put on an absolute stinker to get the win, as he has done many times before. So I feel quite strongly Okolie points is coming in personally.
Fair enough. I'll kind of disagree and agree. I agree in terms I think Okolie's going to win, but I'm going to go for a probably second half of the fight stoppage for Okolie. Reason being, I think Billam-Smith too easy to hit. Yes, he's shown he's got a good chin and stuff, but we saw even against like Vassal Duchart, Isaac Chamberlain, and all those kind of fights. I personally think that Tommy McCarthy as well. I think Chris Billam-Smith is quite easy to hit, whereas Lawrence Okolie is quite difficult to hit. But time will tell. It'll be a good fight, and yeah, Lawrence, I appreciate you jumping on him. And that was our reaction to the weigh-in. One of three world title fights this weekend. This one on the South Coast, obviously got Michael Conlan challenging for a world title in Bournemouth, and Lee Wood challenging for trying to win back his WBA featherweight title in Manchester too. Lawrence, thanks very much for joining me, mate. All the best.
Cheers, thank you.